I believe that a man has a duty to protect and provide for a woman.
You need a man who can kill somebody and hold a baby in the same day? I can do whatever I want, I'm a man!
All be pussies. All! Everyone! You all deserve slavery.
You're such a clever motherfucker.
Andrew Tate is the most Googled person on the planet Earth, recently surpassed by Trump and Queen Elizabeth II. Not only all major social networks removed Andrew Tate from their platforms, but also companies like Airbnb and Uber Eats canceled his account due to harmful influence on undeveloped minds of young people, especially men. So who is Andrew Tate? Is he a hero? Is he a victim? Is he an inspiration or a narcissist without any awareness of the impact of his words on undeveloped minds of young people? Let's investigate. Is Andrew Tate wounded or empowered masculine? In order to come up with the verdict, I'm going to show you 4 scales. I'm going to start with Robert Kagan's 5 stages of ego development. The first level of development is impulsive mind, children from 2 to 6 years of age. Now, an adult whose development is arrested during that period of time manifests his behavior strictly driven by his own impulses and his own ego perception without any regard for the outside world. Then the next stage of development is instrumental mind, 6 years through the adolescence. Now, an adult whose development is arrested during that period of time manifests his behavior strictly driven by his own interests, desires, and wants without the regard for the outside world. It's often called a tribal mind. And then there is another stage of development called socialized mind. For example, a young adolescent steals a car and goes to prison or jail. So what happened there, right? He stole a car because he wanted to. Because he wanted to drive a fast car, because he wanted to sell it and get money for it. So his behavior was driven solely by his own wants, desires. He didn't think about, well, maybe I shouldn't steal that car because I didn't work for it, right? So that's tribalism. Let's see, now this person is approached by rough group of friends and say, hey, we have an opportunity to steal this car. So this person now, no, you know what? I'm not going to steal this car because I already went to prison. I really don't want to go to prison. It's still tribal state of mind, but already going one leg into socialized mind. He is still driven by the desires. I don't want to go to jail, but not because, look, I shouldn't steal this car because I didn't work for it, right? So now if this person does not choose steal the car because he recognizes that there is another person who worked hard and bought this car and they have no right to this car, I'm gonna go make my own money and buy my own car. That's socialized level of development. And then the next level of development is self-authoring. If you're familiar with Jordan Peterson, he has his own self-authoring program where he helps you to take charge over your own life. So I'm going to give you an example how my self-authoring mind was developing. So I was reading religious verses. And in the Bible it says that Adam and Eve are the first people on earth. And when they had their sons went on to different lands and marry women from different lands. My question was, well, if Adam and Eve were the first people on earth, where did those other women, sons' wives, come from? And nobody could really answer that question, or if they did, it was not satisfying for my stage of development then. So I started developing my own vision of the world. I don't dismay what good things Bible teaches, but I was seeking for more answers. So even though my society kind of imposes this vision of the world for me, I am now able to analyze and construct my own vision of how this world operates. According to Robert Kagan, there are 40% of educated adults in America, United States, who are self-authoring. So that means not everyone reaches that stage. And most of the world are in socialized level of development, but some of the nations, some of the countries still heavily rooted, their legs are still rooted in tribalism. And then there is the next stage, self-transforming mind. If you know Jordan Peterson, I personally think I see that he's self-transforming. And the way I see it is because he's able to break down the most complex theories deconstruct them and explain them. And like, for example, he says, I'm not a religious man, but I act and live my life as though I am a religious man, right? So he's able to see that it's someone else's vision, but the value of that vision yields better results. If you see on the outer world, if you see Christian people, they actually live better lives than other people with those strong values. He's able to see above all these complex structures of thought, and he says, you know what, for the society right now, this is the best course. That's self-transforming mind. Now we're going to look at wounded feminine and masculine and empowered feminine and masculine dynamics. Wounded feminine and masculine energies: prostitute and hustler, victim and bully, flake dictator, child and narcissist. Prostitute feminine energy often attracts hustlers, and then feminine wounded energy child often attracts wounded masculine narcissist, right? Victim, bully, flake, dictator. Now let's take a look at the empowered feminine and masculine dynamics. Goddess, god, heroine, warrior, queen, king, enchantress, alchemist. And the last one, the scale of the feeling state. Powerlessness, that's the lowest emotion you can feel. You're on the verge of the suicide. You don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. Then anger. Okay, anger is better than powerlessness. It's like you're taking back your power. Acceptance, full acceptance of the situation as it is. And then hope. You see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then joy. Contentment, bliss, joy, passion. Yes. Andrew Tate is a 4-time world kickboxing champion. Nobody could do this for him. He had to go, he had to train, he had to fight for his life. Definitely, he's in a category of a warrior, right? It's a empowered masculine dynamic. Also, Andrew Tate, as reported, has helped thousands of men, and some of them even claim that Andrew Tate brought them from the verge of the suicide. So he's an alchemist. In other words, on our feeling scale, right, when you're at the very bottom, right, you get angry at yourself, at your life. You go and you start fighting for yourself until you can go to the next level of acceptance. So Andrew Tate is a good inspiration for bringing men from the verge of their desperation. Andrew Tate is a multi-millionaire. He has private jets, he has women by his side. So for some men, this appears as though he is the king, right? And Andrew Tate, I've seen his interviews, he often refers indirectly to himself like he's the king, he's the king. So let's analyze this a little bit deeper. Andrew Tate has made his money in pornography and casino, right? And everyone knows OnlyFans, right? He has an account there and he exploits girls to make money. Maybe not anymore, as he says, but that was certainly a big chunk of his income. Now, I don't have to explain to you why this is unhealthy business. It doesn't help people with anything. It doesn't help them heal. It doesn't help them create. It rather exploits people on their weaknesses. For example, women who engage in pornography as means of making money, they don't come from good families, right? They come from broken families. They're often orphans. They get pulled into this industry, or they choose to be in this industry to make means met. But women from healthy families, it doesn't even occur to them to make money that way. So casinos, you all know that people lose their last money in the casinos. It perpetuates the cycle of addictions. So there is nothing healthy about those businesses. There's another aspect. Andrew Tate speaks loud and clear that the biggest virtue of women is their purity and virginity. And yet, he exploits women's sexuality and makes money. Andrew Tate says that he is a deeply religious person. He says this throughout all his interviews. He's the man of God.
I'm a religious person. I believe in God.
And yet, he has made, or he's still making money from people suffering from pornography. And we know now pornography it destroys men's sexuality. As a result, women are dissatisfied. because men cannot perform, men get depressed. So it's exploiting people's weaknesses and making money off of that. So if you're a man of God, would you be reading and exploiting people's weaknesses? Andrew Tate says he's the man of God, and yet he dates 6-7 women at a time. That's what he says. We don't know if it's true for sure, but this is what he says.
I want all people to live righteous and good, whether they're male or female. And anybody who...
You lead a righteous life?
I think I do, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
You boasted openly of having 6-7 partners at once. So is that righteous?
And once again, by dating 6-7 women at a time, you don't keep their purity. You're taking advantage of their purity. And then once you're bored and if you're not interested, you move on.
It doesn't say in the Bible I can't do that. Read the book. I can do whatever I want. I'm a man.
So to solely blame women for their behavior without being able to take responsibility for your own action, we have a word for it. We call it double standards. I'm going to give you a few verses of the Bible. Bible is very clear. There are a few instances when men had more than one wife, but throughout the Bible, God always says one woman per one man per one woman. For example, Hebrew 13, let marriage be held in honor among all, and let the marriage bed be undefiled, for God will judge the sexually immoral and adulterous. Matthew 5:27-28, you have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with a lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Proverbs 6:32, he who commits adultery lacks sense, he who does it destroys himself. Luke 6:31, and as you wish that others would do to you, do so to them. Proverbs 28:6, better is a poor man who walks with his integrity than a rich man who is crooked in his ways. Exodus 20:14, you shall not commit adultery. And you don't have to read the Bible, you just look at the Christian community to see that those people are the most righteous people because they follow these rules. Andrew Tate often says in his interviews that he is the man of God and he believes in a family. No, he's never been married before. So going back to Robert Kegan's 5 stages of development, even though I see him as a self-authoring mind, he seems someone like, I will live by my own way. But his legs are deeply rooted in tribalism because the way he has lived, he's made his money is exploiting people's suffering and perpetuating those sufferings, right? And an ability to see that his words and actions influence young, undeveloped minds in harmful ways. So he says this.
I don't want anybody to be offended by anything I say. I want to be a positive force in the world. I don't want anybody to hear what I say and make them feel bad about themselves.
But then he says this.
Oh, I was busy with my Bitcoin. Oh, You're all a bunch of pussies. They are pussies, all of them. That's all they are, they're pussies. All men are cowards. They're cowards. It's literally mind-blowing to me, the level of cowardice we're forced to endure. Everyone's a pussy. When I saw all the masculine influencers on Twitter, the whole manosphere, everything, when I saw them all be pussies, everyone, you all deserve slavery.
So this falls into category of a bully. So let's look at our wounded energies, right? Bully. People are weak and he bullies them. Even his academy, it's called Hustler's Academy. So hustler usually attracts wounded feminine energy prostitutes, right? So he's hustling those girls on his webcams. Let's look at this clip.
I'm one of the greatest men on the face of the planet.
I'm now the most famous Google person on the planet. I'm the most famous man on the planet. The reason I am so popular and I'm so famous is because I didn't know I was going to become the most famous man on the planet.
I'm such a clever motherfucker.
So in this interview with Piers Morgan, he said, how many? 5 times that he's the most famous person on the planet. Of course, let's look at our graph here. Of course, narcissist, right? A wounded masculine energy. So he definitely has some empowered energies, like he's a warrior, he's an alchemist, but he's actually all of them. He has hustler in him, he's bully in him, he's a narcissist, and he's a dictator. Because in his other videos, I said so, that's how it is, right? Dictator.
Oh, you will not. God will frown upon you. You can't do that.
And you.
What do you mean, and me? It doesn't say in the Bible I can't do that. Read the book. I can do whatever I want. I'm a man.
So what I personally think of Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate, I don't know if this is true Andrew Tate that we see. It also feels to me that he might be the one-woman man, and when he's with that woman, he's a completely different person from what we see on the screen. I also see that softness in him. that he thinks it's unattractive. It is vulnerability is attractive. It is not a sign of weakness. Also, he says this.
Do you regret then saying it the way you said it?
I can't live in regret by saying something before I was famous on a camera, which barely anybody watched, and then I became famous afterwards. That would be a very asinine way to view the world.
Do you stand by all those things?
I can't live in regret because I didn't know I was going to become the most famous man on the planet.
When Piers Morgan confronts him, do you regret the things that you have said? He's unable to say yes. He's unable to say, I was wrong. He defends himself. He says, I stick by my beliefs. That's ego. That's wounded ego. We all evolve. Nobody is perfect. We make mistakes. It's the ability to be humble and say, you know what? I now see that I was wrong. But inability to say so, it is actually not a strength, it's a weakness, form of narcissism. Andrew Tate has not integrated his trauma. There's a divorce happened, his mom took the kids and went back to England. He grew up without the father. He also proclaims that fathers should not be around, which is very harmful. We know now, the data is clear on that if fathers are not around, children without fathers don't do as well in life as children with having both parents. But he openly says that fathers don't need to be around.
I was raised by probably the best father on earth. I really genuinely believe
But he wasn't
that.
around?
But a father doesn't have to be around. This is the big mistake. This is another big mistake, especially among the conservatives and the tradcons and all this crap. If I had a son, I could see him once a year. But my son should want to emulate me. He should want to be me. He is me.
So there is some unintegrated, unhealed trauma that served him as a fuel, and fueled that anger to achieve, to win as he did. But it can only take you so far, right? Now, if you want to go further in your development, that trauma needs to be integrated. When you see him talk, he has so much anger when he speaks about women's bodies and virtues and sexuality. It's so charged, right? He says, take a look at this.
I think 99% of the world's problems would be solved if females walked through life with their body count on their forehead. Because it would prevent all of the disintegration of morals. All the degeneracy would disappear. Families would return. Virgins meeting their first man, staying with him her whole life and being proud of it. Couldn't we go back to such a beautiful age? All we have to do is start putting numbers on girls' foreheads. We could fix everything.
He perhaps had some sexual trauma, not necessarily done onto him, but maybe he saw his mother having sex when he was a child with someone else, right? Not his father. We don't know what really happened. I'm just speculating. But there's some charged energy in terms of women's sexuality there that now caused him being banned from the internet. So maybe Tate is a completely different person when he's alone with his one woman, not 6'7" as he says, with his one woman. But the problem with this, because he presents this persona, he misleads and misguides many undeveloped minds of young people. That perpetuates the pain and the grief of female masculine dynamics that we have been recovering now for a long time. If this video has stimulated your mind even just a little bit, if it raised some questions, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be notified about my next upcoming video. Please don't hesitate to ask me questions in the comments below, and I will see you very soon. Bye.